Hello friends, welcome back to my channel. I'm Angie and this is Cover Spines and Pages. Today we're going to talk about the Our Fantasy Bingo Board. So if you're unfamiliar with the Our Fantasy Bingo Board, welcome to the club. I have seen it quite a bit on booktube and bookstagram and pretty much anything social media related that has people that read fantasy and sci-fi. I don't know all the rules about it. I know some of the basics. It's a competitive, I think. I don't know if it's competitive, but people turn in their bingo boards in the fantasy, the Reddit's, the fantasy subreddit forum. I don't really, to be honest with you, I don't know a lot about Reddit. I sometimes will click on a link that goes there when I see that there is a question that's similar to mine and see what people ask. But aside from that, I don't utilize Reddit the way that I think it's really intended to be. And that is that there's these really large communities that have similar interests. And one of those interests is books, just like there is here. But anyway, this bingo board has 25 squares. You have a year from April 1st until March 31st of the next year to fill all the prompts. There are two modes. There is standard mode and then there is a hard mode for every prompt involved with that. And people that are part of that Reddit community or serious about it, they turn in their bingo boards somewhere. But I will link below the information to the Our Fantasy wiki page so that you can find out more information for yourself. A couple of the rules that you have to keep in mind is we cannot use a book in more than one spot. You cannot use an author more than once with the exception of two particular things, which I will talk about when we get to them. And you may only use one reread on the whole board. Those are kind of the big highlights of it. That and it, I think that it has to fall within fantasy, sci-fi, or horror genres specifically. So, without further ado, I'm going to tell you the books that I've chosen for these particular prompts. You can take them as recommendations for yourself. And if I have more than one idea for a particular prompt, I might mention it. But this whole TBR is pretty fluid for me. Like, I have a plan, but if I read another book that fits the prompt and I think I'm just going to use it, I will, because I don't see any reason why not. And then for me, I chose, for the most part, with the exception of just a couple, I chose books that either I already have in my possession, and that possession can be my physical, my ebooks, or my audiobook TBRs, or I am anticipating them for some other reason. So there are some books that are coming up in the next few months that I anticipate purchasing because they were already on my radar, or because they're parts of series that I'm already in the middle of, and things like that. So for the most part, I stuck to those rules specifically, with the exception, I think, of just the first one. And even this one is one that I wanted, but I did not go and just look up the prompts and like hunt for books that might fit into this particular prompt and then end up with a bunch of books on my list that I have not, that I had not wanted already to read. Because I do that a lot with specific themes in readathons and such like that, and I really wanted to avoid it for this because the whole purpose of me participating in this is that I wanted to use it to help me get through some of my TBR. So that being said, we'll start with row 1. This is the bingo board here. This is what it looks like. Get a good look at it because it's going away here in a second, so I have room to show you any digital books that I want to pop up here. Or maybe, how about we back up? Here's the bingo board right here. I will leave this up here for our reference, and if I have digital books, they'll show up over here. The first prompt in line 1 is a trans or non-binary protagonist in the story. To make a to make it hard mode, it has to not be an alien or a robot. And I chose I'm sorry, I can't remember the name of the author. I can't pronounce the last name of the author, but the book is The Adventures of Amina Al-Sarafi, and the author is Shannon Jaworski. I don't know. Sorry. You're just gonna have to look at it up here because I know that I'm gonna botch that last name. I always do that. I never think to look it up before I start my videos. But I think that this will fit both. It fits the prompt and it will fit hard mode. I'm not particularly picky about whether or not I get hard mode. I think I've chosen a couple of squares where I am and some where I'm not. So, take that with what you will. Some books that I have read on this that I have read previously that would fit if you're looking for something quick and easy and fun. I read a book called Nimona. It was a graphic novel, and I thought that one was really entertaining, and I would recommend that for this prompt. But it would be a reread for me, so I am not putting it on my board. The next prompt in the first line is to choose a book based on its title. They say specifically judge a book by its title, like judging a book by its cover, only choosing something that intrigues you within the title. Now I'm getting a little bit in the weeds here. The hard mode for this one is that you can't have read a blurb or anything about it before you choose it. And I would say that for the most part, that is true of almost all the books that I have, because I hate reading blurbs. Sometimes they have spoilers. So if I hear about a book, it's generally because I've heard somebody talk about it, and odds are pretty good that I don't remember exactly what it was about. And that's very much the case with the book that I chose. And the book is called A Necromancer Named Gam Gam. And this one is by Adam Holcomb. This is an independent author, and I have a copy of this book in my Kindle. And basically what I did to pick out a book was that I went through all of my books, and the first one that stood out that was really interesting to me based on its title, I chose. Well, maybe not the first one, but I went through a few, and this was the one that was definitely had the most interesting name. And then I heard somebody else talk about it on theirs the other day when I was watching videos, and I thought, how odd that this particular book ended up being not just on my TBR, but on someone else's, because it seems like an obscure book. Anyway, that fits both regular and hard mode for me because I have absolutely no idea what that book is about. The next book in the top row is translated. So it just has to be translated from another language into my language, a language that I don't already speak or read, which isn't hard because the only language I speak or read is English because I'm from America and that's just the way we do things here. But the hard mode for it is it had to be within the last 5 years that it was translated into your language. And I don't think that the book that I chose for this is going to fall in the hard mode category because there are 8 books in this series already. I suppose it could have been translated more recently, but I don't know for sure. But the book that I've chosen is Heaven Official's Blessing by Mo Zhang Tongzhu. And I have this whole beautiful set. I talked about it a little bit on my channel before. If you've been here, I like to brag about them because they are pretty, but I haven't read a single one of them yet. And this is going to be a good opportunity for me to hop in and at least dabble in the series. I don't care if I don't like what the story's about because I bought them for the art specifically. But I do hope that I like them because I would like to read them all. And then the next one on here is a book from a self-published author or from a small publishing group. So it can't be from like one of the big 5. And I have to look up what the hard mode is because I don't remember what hard mode is. Oh, it has to have less than 100 ratings on Goodreads, which this one, I don't know, and I don't have enough service out here to look it up, but I will be reading A Haunt for Jackals by J.L. Odom. This is the second book in the series, the Land of Exile series. The first book is by Blood by Salt, which if you've spent any time watching my videos, you've probably heard me talk about because I talk about it on pretty much all my videos. I really like that book that much, and I've been really excited to read this one. It's actually next on my TBR. As soon as I'm done with the book that I'm reading now, this is the next one that I'm going to do. But if you're looking for a recommendation for this, By Blood by Salt by J.L. Odom, if you haven't already read it, is excellent. I highly, highly recommend it. Another one would be The Bloodstones by Tori Tekken. She also has a couple of other books that you might be interested in. One is called Cold Silver for Souls, and another one called Phased. I haven't read Phased yet, but Cold Silver by Souls I did, and Cold Silver for Souls I read, and I thought that one was really good too. I could go on and on and on about indie published books because it's kind of you wouldn't call it a genre, but those are the authors that I tend to gravitate towards. And then the last one on the top row is an unusual mode of transportation. And the rule to this is that it is unusual to the genre. So if you're reading sci-fi, spaceships don't count. And then the hard mode part of that is that it can't be by combustion or steam powered. And what I chose for this one is the only reread that I'm allowed to have on this board. And I've chosen Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets. And I picked this one because of Flue Powder, which was the first thing that came to mind when I saw the prompt. Harry Potter series has quite a few modes of transportation in it that I would say are unusual even to the genre. I wouldn't say broomsticks because maybe those are a little more common amongst stories about witches, but I have not heard of other stories where Flue Powder is a thing. If you're looking, for me, this is, I read book 1 and book 4 in March. I don't feel like I have to read these in order anymore because I've read them quite a few times, plus seen all the movies a number of times. But this one has Flue Powder, probably is included in a number of the other stories. And I don't know if I could say Flue Powder is combustion or not. So I don't know if that would count for hard mode. But if you're like me and you really could read any one of these books, I would say you could read book 5 where they travel by toilet, which I thought is pretty unusual. So that is all of row 1. Okay, moving on to row 2. The first prompt in this one is called Afterlife, which means anything to do with after death. And hard mode is that it cannot have a good place versus bad place dichotomy involved with it. The book that I chose for this one was My Darling Dreadful Thing by Johan van Veen. And I would say this one fits hard mode. Religion is talked about kind of vaguely in the book, but they don't really talk about heaven and hell, and these are just spirits that get attached to people in this particular story. So I would count it for hard mode. The next prompt is Game Changer, and this is basically there has to be trials or competition as part of the story. I tend to like stories like this. I would say any one of the Dungeon Crawler Carl books would fit in this, and hard mode is that the character breaks the rules in it. And I would say any one of the Dungeon Crawler Carl books, you probably will find that he does break rules in there. So I could count any one of the next, I finished through book 5, so I have 6, 7, and then 8 comes out in May. So I could use any one of those, but what I've chosen is one of Matt Dinniman's lesser known works, and that is Kaiju. This is, I think, also lit RPG. I understand that it is extremely disturbing, very gory, and pretty hard hitting. And it is quite the chunker, or at least it looks like it. Let's see, it's only 650 pages. It looks like it would be a lot more pages, must just be thick paper, but this is my choice for that. Then the next prompt is to read 5 short stories. So this is one of the prompts where you can have multiple stories that are from the same author, and you either have to read 5 short stories, or the hard mode is that you would read an anthology of stories, but the minimum is 5 stories. And I have chosen Honor, an anthology of sci-fi, a sci-fi and fantasy anthology. This is a collection of short stories by indie authors of sci-fi and fantasy. A couple of my favorite authors are in here, including J.L. Odom and Tori Tekken, which I've already mentioned. And I've read a couple of this, I've read a few of the stories in here. I've definitely got way more than 5 left to go in this anthology before I'm done with it. I think there's 22 or 25 stories in here. So I have a lot left to go before I'm done with it, but I'm really excited about this. I love this beautiful edition that we got as part of being on the Kickstarter. If you haven't already seen the video, I did put one on my shorts about the unboxing for this because it was super cool. Some other ones that come to mind, I know that Stephen King has a couple of anthologies, but I don't remember how many books. I know he's got one called 4 Past Midnight. I can't for the life of me remember how many stories are in it. Ken Liu has one. It's The Paper Menagerie and Other Stories. And I read The Paper Menagerie out of that and loved it. And there's probably enough stories in that if you were looking for an anthology that would fit this prompt. The next one is called Vacation Spot. And this one doesn't have a hard mode. They say is because you deserve a vacation. And the point of the prompt is that it occurs someplace that you would enjoy vacationing. And that could be a beach, it could be a fantasy land, could be a number of things. And my original pick for this was the Fellowship of the Ring, part of the Lord of the Rings trilogy. And because I thought, well, first thing that came to mind for me was Hobbiton and how much I would really like to go there. But that's a reread for me, and I can't use it. But if you have not read The Hobbit or The Fellowship of the Ring, or probably any one of those 3 books, you probably could use one of those. But I cannot, and I have not chosen a book to fulfill that prompt yet. I'm sure there's a lot of places, but when I think of fantasy, I tend to think of all the wars and crazy things that are going on there. So I don't often, I don't know. It's hard to say. And I will probably have to wait until I read something new that has a nice place in it that I think I would enjoy being. So that one is to come. The last prompt on this row is an older protagonist. So it means one of the main characters needs to be over the age of 50. And the hard mode for this prompt is that they cannot have their longevity because of something. Nothing is a catalyst for it. So it can't be because they're an elf or because their life is prolonged by magic or something like that. So the book that I chose for this is The Kings of the Wild. This book is by Nicholas Ames. And I'm about to be out of battery in this, and I'm going to be sad if that happens. And I have chosen that one because one of the protagonists is, at least one of the protagonists is over 50 at the age of 58. And I've heard really great stuff about this story. And it sounds kind of like a motley crew, older guys going out trying to relive their youths or something. Anyway, it looked like a lot of fun. I saw a vlog on it not that long ago, maybe by Covers with Cassidy might have done that one. But I'm looking forward to reading that. Okay, moving on to the next row. So the first prompt is a one-word title, and hard mode is that it can't be a proper person's name or place. And I have chosen Malice by John Gwynne. I am anticipating this book showing up as part of my subscription to the Broken Binding, and I'm really looking forward to it. I love John Gwynne's writing, and this one looks like it's just going to be a rip my heart out and stomp all over it kind of series. So that is my pick, and it does meet the hard mode criteria. The next prompt is a non-human protagonist, and I think that the hard mode for this is that there can be no POVs that are human. And the book that I've chosen for this I don't own, but it's definitely on my anticipated new releases list. I think it comes out in June, might be, it's May or June, I don't really remember, but it's Green City Wars by Adrian Tchaikovsky, and it's a raccoon is the main character in it, and basically all of the characters are non-human, so that will meet the hard mode prompt. Basically any story where all of the, whether they're elves or dwarves or something along those lines would fit. The Hobbit would fit, I think. I do not believe they have any human POVs in that, which you might need to check. Then the next one is, I have skipped an entire line. I did. Okay, so I'm gonna finish this row and then we're gonna go back up because I totally skipped a row. I don't really know how I managed that. But the next one is a middle grade, and hard mode is that it's an author that is new to you. And for this one, I am choosing to read Nevermore, The Trials of Morgan Crow. This is by Jessica Townsend, and I've had this book for a few months and I've been meaning to get to it. I was hoping to read it during middle grade March and I just never got around to it, but I'd love to read it and see if I'm interested in carrying on in the series, because I've heard that the writing is really good and good enough to engage an adult, which is usually a problem I have with middle grades, is that they're just written down in such a way that it's hard for adults to really enjoy. But I've heard that this one isn't quite that way. So this is my middle grade and it does fit hard mode prompt. The next one is First Contact. Wow, I'm really struggling at this point because I'm starting to feel a little bit of pressure because my iPad that has all of my books on it so that I don't forget stuff is dying. And I'm starting to feel a little bit rushed. So slow down. If this dies, hopefully I just remember, or we'll just have to come back and film the rest of this after I charge a little bit. So the next one on this row is First Contact, which basically means first contact with an alien race, or first contact with another kingdom, or another species, or anything along those lines. And then hard mode is that it cannot be a violent first contact. So it can't be an encounter with a battle or something like that. And I do not know if the book that I chose for this fits for hard mode because I don't know enough about it. And that is Leviathan Wakes by James S.A. Corey. This is the Expanse series. There's a TV series I've watched a few of that I didn't really care for at the time. But I think I'm probably still going to enjoy the book. So, and this will give me a good idea whether or not I'm going to carry on with that series. I not only own this in paperback, but I also have an audiobook on Chirp for that. And then the last one in this row is a murder mystery. And the hard mode is that the main character cannot be a detective or something like that. So the book that I've chosen does not meet hard mode, and that is because I am choosing to read A Drop of Corruption, which is the book that follows The Tainted Cup, which I read back in 2025. And The Tainted Cup wasn't really one of my favorite books, but I liked it enough and was intrigued enough and wanted to know more about the world that I've decided to carry on with the series, and I just haven't purchased it and carried on, but it is something that I want to read. So I actually think I have that on audio now that I think about it. So I probably already own it. Okay, so now we're going to go backwards a little bit to the 4th row because I skipped it. And the first prompt in that is a duology part 1. The duology things you actually can use same authors on, and I do plan to do that between the 2 prompts that you'll see here. And the duology that I've chosen is The Night and the Moth by Rachel Gillig. I've actually read a chunk of this book, but it was a while ago, and I'm probably gonna have to go back through the first few chapters just to make sure I remember what's happening in this story. And I've been looking for something to motivate me to pick it back up, because it wasn't that I wasn't enjoying the book, it was that I got distracted and started reading something else. And whatever that was too interesting to share my time between more than one book. So that is why I still need to read this. And I've read a few duologies. I don't have any particular, I don't know. I don't have any other recommendations. I have One Dark Window and the sequel to that in my books up there, but it is not the one that I've chosen for this particular prompt. The next book is an R Fantasy book club pick. Doesn't have to be one that you read along with, and it doesn't have to be a current one. It can be from the past. I don't remember what hard mode is, so I have to look. Hard mode would be to pick a current one and be part of the discussion, which I'm not going to do in this case. The book that I've chosen is Let Sleeping Gods Lie by Ben Shankman. This is relatively new. I don't remember exactly when it came out, but I have the ARC for it and I haven't read it. I'm late on it, but I am really fascinated by it. And it has a raccoon in it also, so I could see that raccoons is going to be kind of a theme this year. I don't really need to link below the book club. If you go to the wiki page for the R Fantasy Reddit wiki page for this challenge, all the links you need are in there. So I'm just going to link the one thing. The next book on this is the only other one that I haven't specified a book for, and that's because it's a 2026 new release. And I'm going to read quite a few of those, partly because I'm doing Herkyed, and that is part of that. But also, I have bought a bunch of books this year, and I have several more that I have pre-ordered. So I really could put anything in there. Right now, what I'm leaning towards is The Red Winter by Cameron Sullivan, which I think I might read relatively soon. So it might go in there. It might not. I don't really know. I don't have anything particular that I feel. That's kind of like having a free space, which is probably why it's in the center like it is. The next prompt is Explorers or Rangers. And the book I've chosen for that is The Right of the Starling, which is the sequel to The Shield of Sparrows. And they're pretty much exploring and adventuring all over the place and going into new places. I would say that the main character, even though he isn't specified as a ranger, is very much fulfilling the role of a ranger in the story, as well as the first book. So I would recommend Shield of Sparrows if you haven't read it yet. And some other ones that would work really good for this would be the Lord of the Rings trilogy. Any one of the 3, there is specifically a ranger class of characters in it. The Dragonlance Chronicles has rangers type ranger class, and they're all exploring and things like that. So those would be good recommendations for that. But my pile is starting to fall. And then the last one in this line is the duology part 2. And like I said, I am not doing hard mode for this. Hard mode would be to choose the second book in a different duology than the one that you chose one. But I am anticipating the because I pre-ordered the next book, To the Night and the Moth, which is The Knave and the Moon by Rachel Gillig. So I will just continue on with that duology. So we are on the last row. And the first book, or the first prompt in the last row is called Cat Squasher, a book over 500 pages. And a hard mode book would be a book over 900 pages. And while I am teetering pretty close to a hard mode book, I have not chosen a hard mode book for that, but I'm currently reading Dragon Mage by M.L. Spencer. This book is 812 pages, so it more than meets the criteria for the standard prompt, but doesn't quite make it for hard mode. I'm sure that I will read other books this year that are going to fit in that, but since I started this on April, I don't know, today's the 10th, the 7th maybe? I've only been reading it for a couple of days, but anyway, I'm cruising through it because it's a real easy read, and I am loving this one. Like, I can see this being something that gets put in the reread pile. So far, I'm liking it that much. The next one is a feast. It's called Feast Your Eyes on This. And the prompt is that there is food or feasts or meals or something that move the plot along or have something to do with the plot. And I have to look up hard mode because I don't remember what it is for this one. Oh, hard mode is to attempt to make a dish from the story. And the book that I've chosen for this prompt is The Lies of Loch Lamora by Scott Lynch. I do not know exactly how food and meals particularly fits into the plot, but I found this on a list. There's a story graph challenge that's specific to this our fantasy bingo board, and people that have put books in there, that's kind of in the background. So you can click on a link and I'll show you other books that have been added for the prompt. And this was one of them. So I reached out to one of the Patreon groups that I'm on and asked that group of people, because I know a good many of them have read this, and they have confirmed that the preparation of meals and sharing of meals is a very important part of this book. So it meets the criteria for that. And whether or not I'll be able to cook something from it will kind of depend on what those meals look like. So I don't know if this will meet hard mode or if I'll even try, but it does fit the standard prompt. Okay, the next one is published in the 1970s. And I have chosen for this one to read The Crystal Cave by Mary Stewart. This one was published, I think, in 1974. I do have a copy of this. I believe I have an ebook copy of it, but I know that I have an audiobook on Chirp for this one. So I will be reading from my TBR for that. And I actually don't really even know what it's about. I have the whole series on audiobook, and I don't even remember how many. There's at least 3, but I want to say there's 4 or more books in that series. So we'll see if it's something that I will continue with after that. And hard mode, I forgot to look up all the hard modes for this one before I started this, is written by a woman. So this one will fall in that category. Then the next one is Politics and Court Intrigue. And the hard mode for this is that it has a prominent focus on politics at the city level. The book that I chose for this is The Curse of Chalion by Bujold is her last name. The first name's not coming to me. But this one I have on ebook. It's been on my want to read list for quite a while. I hear that Bujold's prose are second to none, and I'm really looking forward to reading it and seeing if I agree with that assessment. It's definitely a favorite of a lot of the fantasy booktubers that I follow. So yeah, I'm kind of excited about it, but I don't know if that one will fit in hard mode because I don't know enough about the book itself to be able to say one way or the other. I did see somebody recommended Guards by Terry Pratchett. It's in the City Watch part of the Discworld series. And that was on I have that one on my Kindle also, and I had thought about making that my read, but for me, the Curse of Chalion is more of a priority, I think, than Guards will be. So that is why I picked that one over the other. Okay, we are finally on the last prompt. Whew. And I wish I brought a drink with me. But the last one is an author of color. And I think that the hard mode says that it can't be a person, the author cannot be from the US, the UK, Canada, Australia, or New Zealand, which really narrows it down, I'm sure, quite a bit. And I'm assuming that this does not meet hard mode, but I'm choosing to read Legendborn by Tracy Dion because I bought this, I don't know, 3 or 4 months ago, and I've been really excited to start this series and see if it's something for me. This is YA. I'm trying to think. Octavia Butler. Anything by her would work for the regular mode of this prompt. I believe she's from the US, so you probably won't be able to hit hard mode with that one. But anyway, so that's my TBR for the R Fantasy Reddit challenge for 2026. And I'm kind of excited to participate in this one. I feel good about all the books that I chose. And like I said, I'm fluid about it. So if I find other things that fit better or just happen to fit before I get to the other one, I'm not gonna feel bad if I have to switch it out. But that being said, I would love to hear if you're participating in this challenge. And if you are, if you have any particular books that you're excited about having on your TBR, are any of my books that I chose going to be on your TBR? If you have any suggestions, or if you have any that you're looking for a good suggestion for, put those down in the comments and feel free to engage with each other there and give ideas and take ideas, because that's what this community is all about. But other than that, I hope that you will take the time to like this video, subscribe to my channel, leave your comment, do all the things that you like to do, and I will catch you in the next video.